In the previous video, I talked about a 2D flange, a small spacer, then an outer flange for a brake rotor. And then we even discussed a 3D flange, again with the spacer, outer flange, and the brake rotor. Alright, now we got that all out of the way. I went ahead and made up a mock or prop hub, that's what I'm trying to say, that has our outer flange to mount to the wheel, has the spacer in the middle type of thing, and then a rotor flange for our rotor. And then a buddy of mine also mentioned that we could potentially fill these voids with like epoxy to help beef up or strengthen the bolt holes all the way through. Let's see here. But I'm thinking for a first, and like we said, or a 3D type flange. But I'm thinking just for a baseline test, let's start off with just standard stock rim and then just a 2D flange. With our rotor. I got our hub all assembled on the rim with the rotor. I also assembled one of the hubs for the tsunami cart with its metal rim and rotor. And first of all, I'd like to we got a bit of a difference in rim height. About 3.5 to about 4, let's say. And then let's see how our scales are looking. Our black rim seems to come in at maybe about 2 pounds. With that's the whole rim, hub, and brake rotor. Then our metal one seems to come in at, let's say, 4 pounds. So about twice as much. And both wheels will hold the same 6-inch by usually about 13 tires. So we're talking 13 inches tall overall. But this will have a bit of a narrower situation and only half the weight of this guy. Oh, and a bearing fell out. And actually, speaking of that, I was kind of thinking these plastic rims, or composite rims, have an outer bearing and an inner bearing, if you can see that guy in there. But then with the 1-inch thickness of our hub, once we put the, grab a spindle here, so there'll be a little over 1 inch unsupported. Whereas like, oh, let me get the bearing up in here. These hubs are totally supported. You got a bearing inner bearing and outer bearing at the far ends. I was thinking, if anybody thought it was a good idea, we could pop in an outer bearing, an inner bearing, let's say. That way we'd have support on both ends of the entire unit, and we could take the middle one out, but I would say it'd be best to leave it in, because with the two bearings on the rim itself, that's what's supporting the weight. If we take the center bearing out and just rely on this inner hub bearing, then we're putting a lot more stress on the connection from the hub to the rim. So for that little dinky bit of weight, and I would think little dinky bit of drag, yeah. Okay. Some more information and a little bit of discussion about our front rims with brakes and hubs and what and why, and yeah. One other thing I wanted to point out are these rims for 6-inch tires are about 7 inches, and then the rotors we're using are about 7 inches. So it's from rotor to rim, we're talking 1-to-1 size wise. And then these 13 5x6 rib tires, it's kind of what I had in mind to run on them, and like the name says, they're about 13 inches tall. So for having a 7-inch brake rotor on a 13-inch tall tire, that's what? That's a little over 50%. Alright, more to come.